folks. It's Zach Elliott at Feel Free to Argue, and once again I want to talk to you about something that I saw in Democracy Now! Because I think it really clearly shows how our stated goals are not what are reflected, as usual, in our policies and in the actual judgments that we hand down in various criminal activities. I want to talk a bit about a guy named Bradley Birkenfeld, who was an executive for UBS Bank. And if you might have heard about a judgment against UBS Bank where they had to pay out several $100 million because they were helping Americans basically dodge their taxes, you know, the kind of classic use of the Swiss bank account. I guess it's interesting in the sense that it's very hard to get these people to come forward. You know, they've got a cushy life doing what they're doing. Presumably, if they've gotten to the top, it's, you know, because they've demonstrated that they don't have a conscience about the very kinds of things that would lead them to, you know, report activities to the police or the FBI or whatever. What was really interesting about it, and I thought the contrast was well done in the Democracy Now! Broadcast, is they pointed out that Obama had spent the day on vacation golfing with Robert Wolf, an executive at UBS Bank, because UBS Bank had been one of the early supporters of Obama. And so, you know, they're having these judgments against them. And one thing I thought was also kind of interesting, we'll get to the punchline about this later, but just as an interesting thing, when the guy first basically turned over the information to the government, he gave 52,000 accounts, which were part of this program, this codified program within UBS to help Americans beat the tax system. Later, as part of the negotiations, only, how many was it? I think 4,200, yeah, no, 4,500 of these actually ended up being secured later. So I think it's really interesting that, and there's no, actually there's no indication that these 4,500 are currently going to be prosecuted for anything, even though it's clear that they set up these accounts with the express purpose of defrauding the United States, even though they were filthy, stinking rich to begin with. But these, that's not always, that's one thing that's important to remember. These people who are filthy, stinking rich to begin with are trying to cheat you and me out of taxes because they're not paying their fair share. And somehow this list of 52,000 people who were turned over by this, you know, Bradley Birkenfeld guy somehow got whittled down to 4,500. I think it's amazing that there are that many multimillionaires actually who have no political connections and are free to possibly get investigated, or maybe even like a slap on the wrist. Maybe they have to pay their back taxes or something on the amounts. But here's the really tragic part of it. The whistleblower, a guy who came forward of his own volition. Someone on the show said at one point that they thought that it was related to an investigation of one of his clients. And another person on the show pointed out, and it's like, no, he came forward before there was any investigation, before he even knew that he might be investigated. And he turned over the information that basically opened the door to this entire investigation by the government. And he pointed out that he can't go back to Switzerland. He's a traitor there. This is Stephen Cohn from a Whistleblower Institute. And so, I mean, this is a huge, big deal that this guy would do this. And he's totally destroyed any future he has with, you know, the bank that he was working with, and probably with just about any other bank, certainly at the level that he was before. he was slapped with a 40-month jail term. You know, they cooked up something. I mean, certainly, you know, he's not a Boy Scout. He's in these boardrooms where they're talking about defrauding the United States government of billions of dollars. So, you know, clearly, you know, there are elements of being ethically challenged. But, I mean, the point is, you've got to protect resources like this when they come forward. And when you don't, that is also sending a message. That's sending a message that as much as like, you know, Democrats and Republicans jaw about, like, you know, bringing tax cheats to justice, none of them really give a fuck about it. Because the actual way that this plays out is, once again, the whistleblower gets reamed, and as he pointed out, you know, there was a plea bargain. The billionaire that this guy was taking care of, you know, for the stuff that he got indicted for, the billionaire that you know, Bradley Birkenfeld was taking care of, that guy walked with a deal and did no jail time. So, I mean, that's the way that it plays out. That's the way your priorities are. If that's what you decide, then, and that's the way you give jail time to the whistleblower, you say that, you know, for all your talking, you are not serious about bringing these people to justice. You're not serious about actually getting tax cheats. But the guy, Stephen Cohn, put it very well at the very end. And I think I'll give him the last word. But the point of the law is to get the insider to come out with the information. Without that, you'll never have a case. But by putting the insider not inside the Justice Department's criminal investigatory task force, putting him in jail serves no purpose. It undermines public policy. And I think he put it very succinctly. It undermines public policy. It undermines the interests of ordinary Americans everywhere who are playing by the rules and getting fucked. So, as always, you can feel free to argue. This has been Zach Elliott. Have a good day, people.